Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens, Dark Side of the Stream, episode 206 this week. Was this my? This was my pick this week, wasn't it?
This time you got me. You got me with a
Menendez
dumper.
Brothers on Netflix. We've broken our rule time and time again. Even though this doesn't deal with kids in the later part of the story, in the earlier part of the story it does. So, but I could not pick this one because everyone's been talking about it recently, and it is the true crime documentary on Netflix. Just 2 parts. Tells the story of Lyle and Eric Menendez and their
2 rich
conviction
Beverly Hills kids
of murdering their parents in August of 1989. Yes, very rich. Did you know any of I mean, obviously you were probably out of the scene by this point though, weren't you?
Yeah, I was out, but I just remember when all this went down for
Did
sure.
you know anything about their father?
No.
Because he was
I didn't until this
documentary. He was like a big time,
big movie and music RCA, he was a big timer, and they were, I mean, rich Beverly Hills kids living in a mansion, living the life, right?
It's a story that is horrific. If you believe what Lyle and Eric went through based on their testimony right out of the gate, I believe them. Do you believe them?
Yeah, but the weird thing is why didn't they say that right out the gate?
Well, I think again, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, they did. Well, that's the thing. I didn't want to get into this now, but we can get into it now because you asked the question.
You tell the story for people unfamiliar with the story.
Well, okay, so basically, I'll answer that question in a minute when we get to the end because that's going to be the end of this and why I think it is where it is and what happened. But basically, 2 brothers killed their parents.
Well, they came home and found their parents shot and dead. They said
they called the police and tried to make it look like
police didn't suspect them at all.
No, because it was their kids. But then when they started to kind of look at what they were doing and their behavior post-murder, which, by the way, there is a basketball card that exists out there with the Menendez brothers that I can't remember the...
Why? What do you say? You told me this a couple of days ago, too. What's with the basketball card?
So during that week of splurging, which they went everywhere, there is a football card of Mark Jackson on the New York Knicks, and in the background, you can see sitting courtside Lyle and Eric right there.
Oh, what?
That's during the week where they were just going
1990
around.
hoops card.
Yeah, you could buy one. You
can
buy one for $35. The Mark Jackson card ain't worth a whole lot.
But that one has him in the background.
But you've got the Menendez brothers in the background. Yeah, Menendez brothers doing their thing in the background.
Wow,
which is crazy. So again, that's a little urban legend kind of thing, but yeah, that's always been kind of one of those like interesting collector's items if you're in that sort of thing. I don't really.
So they said they came home, found their parents shot. They weren't suspects. Police were doing the investigation. In that following few weeks, these guys went on a spending spree.
Went nuts,
buying everything under the sun.
Literally, just went crazy.
Porsches, Rolexes.
They went
trips.
They went like different Taste of LA festivals.
Everyone mourns in their own way. Is that what they said?
That's what
they were trying to say.
They were trying to say because the cops were just like, "Look, you just lost your parents. Like, what? You're going to a Knicks game?"
And on the surface, it looks like party time, right?
So and it looks like they're free.
That raised the flag, I guess.
It did, and then that flag would come back to get these guys arrested, and we will talk about their court conviction and what would happen later, and why this is coming back as we discuss the Menendez brothers, Dark Side of the Stream, next on 104.7 The K. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens, trying not to get hot this morning. It's the Menendez Brothers documentary, episode 206 on Dark Side of the Stream. So eventually the Los Angeles Police Department would get wise to what happened with Lyle and Eric's parents after they had been spending money. Originally, Lyle tried to say, hey, my dad was into the mob, and maybe that had something to do with it. But eventually,
some good police work.
They
figured it out. They bought a gun and with somebody else's ID or something.
Hey, what was like a week or two? They were able to spend almost $1 million collectively.
What a party!
Money.
What a week that was.
I don't even know what that would look like.
Right.
But again, if you are a collector, pick up that Mark Jackson card.
If you have an extra $1 million, give it to me and Mike, and we'll see how we can spend it in a week too. That'd be a fun experiment. Radio.
Yeah.
We'll give you radio ads for the year or something.
We will literally talk about you the whole time after you give us all that money. That sounds like a blast. If you're willing to do that, you know who to call.
You never know, man.
So basically, then of course, it's a media frenzy, right? It's
people don't kill people like that in Beverly Hills.
These rich kids, Beverly Hills. This guy is connected. He knew everybody. This just doesn't happen. How could they do it? Why would they do it? Was it the money? Was it something else? Well, after a while, you discover that in fact it was something else. One of the sons had been abused, according to him, pretty much his entire life. And again, that's where you get into the he said, she said stuff, because at the gate,
right,
the prosecution is like, this is all fabricated. Man.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be made for that as well,
But then when you really start to dive deep into the stories and the testimony through people involved, his cousin and stuff, it starts to look like, well, maybe he was telling the truth. Based on what happened, he eventually goes to his brother, and his brother's like, are you kidding me? We're done.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with this.
Right. So they probably just should have said straight out the gate, hey, we just killed our parents because of this. But instead, I think the lies part is what muddied the waters, man.
I mean, how old were they when this happened? Right?
19-ish or something?
I mean, like, you're going to tell me that a kid who started getting abused as far as he can remember, age 6, and then eventually would get abused later on as other brothers as early as 2 weeks before the killings. That's the thing. Like there are so many times where I think these kids did try to reach out for help, but it's funny. It's not funny. I don't want to say that funny. I don't want to use that word. It's interesting because you hear about these stories where, you look at parents and they're low income, right? It's like, oh yeah, of course they would do that. It's easy. But then when parents of high stature,
rich, successful, got businessman, right?
It's got to be the kids. They're rotten.
But he's also like, he was really? Music business and movie business.
And as we found as of late, there's a lot of that stuff going on.
Well, and then I thought what was odd when you hear all this is that when you look back at the guy's career, he was one of the team behind Menudo, there was also allegations there.
Shocker.
Right. So
they're all groomers, man. That's the thing. Like, you can tell the guys that are industry dudes that play along with this because of who they associate themselves with, and then you can tell the guys who just do their own thing and don't want to have anything to do with it. And I give all the props to those guys, the guys that are the trailblazers.
Quentin Tarantino
that make it on their own. He's a foot guy. And
is he?
Yeah. Read some of his
He's
stuff.
A foot guy?
Yeah. Read some of his kinks, man. He's weird as they come. And
Steven Spielberg. No.
But again, well, actually,
trying to find some winners.
Spielberg is actually pretty badass.
George Lucas.
Don't know. And again, if he his own thing was he just should have left his works of art alone and just stopped trying to mess with them. But again, we're not talking about messing with art. We're talking about messing with kids here. And again, as we go forward in our history, time and time again, it shows that all these industry people, whether it's film, art, television, or book, they're not good people.
Do you think that helps with the successful side, though? Being not a good person helps them like claw their way to the top?
I think there's an element to that, but at the same time, how many good people do we know that climbed their way to the top that didn't have to do that?
Yeah, you don't have to. Look at Taylor Swift.
Or didn't have some weird thing that eventually it comes right out. It's so like I always say about fame and getting money and all that stuff. All it does is exacerbates what is inside of you. So if you're a good person, it just makes you even better because you're going to help as many people as you can and lift everyone around you up. If you're a bad person, you already know.
Yeah.
See also Puff Daddy. We're back with our
I think we got more to go.
Discussion.
Yes.
How more about this crazy
about the court cases, how they
talk about the injustice or
the injustice.
Either way, we'll be back next Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The K. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 206, The Menendez Brothers on Netflix. So, of course, these guys would be arrested. And then
all the stuff comes out in the trial.
It goes out in the trial. That trial basically becomes a hung jury because in California, you have to essentially prove that these kids were in immediate or imminent danger. And since they could not prove that,
right, it's a
they
gray
would have,
area.
I
gray
think,
area.
yeah. And so eventually, with all this stuff going back and forth with the defense saying that these guys were doing this, the prosecution saying no, this isn't it. That it's crazy, but eventually the trial got hung. They couldn't figure it out. So it was a mistrial. The juries were both deadlocked, couldn't come to an agreement. And so this was also around the time when another famous court case was happening.
You can't stop the juice.
With O.J. Simpson. Okay. And that was a huge mud stain on not only the Los Angeles Police Department, but also really the DA, their office, the judges involved in that. LA just did not look good when it came to policing, enforcing injustice.
They had to get a few wins under their belt after that one.
And so with that in mind, basically this documentary then, and I think I felt this too, but it just tells a story that with the second trial, that judge did not allow cameras in the courtroom, did not want any publication of this. He wanted a closed court,
quick,
done.
Guilty.
Eric testified over 15 days about allegations of abuse. 15 days he had to go through that. The judge didn't let, I think they only let a couple of that in.
Why did he not let it in there? Like, besides wanting to win.
He knew he wanted to win.
Did he have a legal ground to not let it in?
No, I mean, as far as I know, other than no, I mean, if you are trying to paint a picture as to why you did what you did,
you got to hear the whole story.
You would think that the judge would allow that picture, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah,
that is your defense.
Yeah.
For them to say, you know what, that's not a good enough defense because we don't have any evidence of it actually happening. Well, these guys were grown men at this point, or almost grown men. So what kind of evidence could they have?
Right.
They were set to basically go through and I think plead to aggravated manslaughter, but the judge said, no, we're not doing that.
Needed to get a big win.
First degree murder on both of this, and that's it. And that's what they basically were found with, which is it's horrible. Again, the thing is, they admitted they did it. We know they did it. What they did after, was it great? No.
Yeah, the lying about it.
Considering the evidence that we have, that evidence should have been allowed in the second trial.
if it's all true,
it's all true. I'm not saying we should just walk up to these dudes and hand them the key and say, "You've done your time, bro. Get out."
But now that might be happening, though, right?
I think it might.
Is that what we hear in the news now?
I think really, as of right now, they're trying to appeal this. The DA has announced that they're going to appeal and try and get these guys eligible for parole if the judge accepts the recommendation of resentencing in this case. So they would still be guilty of murder for the rest of their life.
But they've served their time.
But then at this point, I mean, they went in, 30 years ago, 25 to life.
Probably not threats to society.
What are they going to do now?
Yeah, what are they going to do?
The only thing that I would suggest that the court do with these guys, especially the one that had been assaulted, this dude needs like 2 or 3 days a week of therapy for the rest of his life. And it has to be court ordered. You can't just be like, I was in jail, I'm good. You got to be doing, and even if it turns into a thing where he can help others that have been abused and figure out how that goes. It's a tough thing. Abuse for anyone is horrible, but when it happens to a man, I think there is a stigmatism to it that we are still not willing to face. You know what I mean? If it's a man on man situation or whatever, there is like this stigmatism that I think doesn't need to be along with it too. You were abused as a child, whether you're a man or a woman. It's horrific, and we need to do everything we can to help you and make sure that doesn't happen anymore. And this is a horrific story, and we'll talk about our reviews of it next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.
It's moving this way a little bit. So
Mike, the intern, Jay Stevens in the studio, dark side of the stream,
discussing
episode,
weather,
discussing possible hurricanes that could be in our future, and the Menendez brothers. Before we get our review, I think I'm just going to go on record and say that I wish that the Kardashians would just completely disappear and go away. I think her being involved in this is just an opportunity where she's like, I'm a lawyer. I took the bar. I can tell myself
trying
to Dude,
yeah,
girl,
she's trying to advocate for getting people out of jail. Yeah.
There have been so many different lawyers and people advocating this before you woke up and even knew who they were and found out about them a couple months ago. Okay. Come on now.
Well, at least maybe she's trying to do some good for.
You want to do some good? Kim Kardashian.
She could be the one to give us the $1 million. Then give us the $1 million to do our experiment of spending.
Some good, Kardashians, if you're listening, and I'm going to look directly into the camera.
Which one? Which one are you talking
to? The entire garbage,
the whole clan?
Family, starting with the mother and the matriarch.
Okay.
You want to do something good for the world, Kardashian family? Wipe yourselves off of the face of the planet.
Oh no!
Get off of every streaming service. Stop your show.
They can do
Stop
something
showing
good.
up. It's what?
I don't know, but they should be able to turn their lives around and do something good.
Wipe yourselves off of the face of the planet so we don't know who that name is anymore. There you have it. That's what you can do to forward this planet all day. You tell me one good thing that family has done for the human race.
I'm
and this is, I'm giving you an opportunity who can find out reasons to prove or at least
email the station and let Mike know.
One good thing the Kardashian, not the lawyer dad, not the one who made all money.
Here's kind of an interesting twist, though.
He was gone.
He was OJ's lawyer.
Yeah, I know.
So here's the circle of
full circle. She was also probably banging OJ too.
Yeah, I think so.
They're all doing that stuff. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is, you asked me what they've done good, and I can't answer that.
Maybe that's why she's trying to do this now.
I'm giving them an opportunity to make it
trying to do it
by wiping themselves from our memories in our face.
Needless to say, Mike's not a fan of the keeping up with the Kardashians.
I'm not a fan of people that just do nothing and just get all this acumen. It's just like, what are you? You release a sex tape and you happen to marry a porn addict who's addicted to nitrous, who's losing his mind, and he's also claiming to be a Nazi. So yeah, you guys are real good. And then now you've got your two little girls who are literally like, one of them has used so much plastic surgery, she looks like she's a 40-year-old woman, but she's only 25 years old. Yeah. I got a bone to pick with them. Garbage. But that's the thing. But you see, that's
I did not know that.
Full circle here.
Was so strong for the Kardashians.
Full circle here, buddy. Full circle here, buddy. The full circle is this.
Gosh, I'm dying.
That garbage exists and is rampant in that town of Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, you are correct.
Menendez brothers, one example. Kardashian family, two examples. We can go on and on and on and on and on, brother. But at the end of the day, these people are garbage. They need you so much more than you need them. If you do not forget that in your life, you'll be a happy person. That's my review of this. Is we understand that these people that we go see movies and buy records and take time for, they need us so much more than we need them. That's the agreement.
Please release a Kardashian documentary so we can do it on Dark Side of the Stream.
All it is, it's going to be 5 minutes of me going out and setting up a bunch of explosives. With the TV while it's playing it. We're going to have Tyler filming it off to the side. Oh, my gosh. And then I'm going to set the charge. Boom. Gone.
Wow, this one took a turn. All right. What do you give this documentary? What kind of
rating? I give this documentary a solid 3.5, if not 4.
Yeah, I'm fair with it.
Just because I think personally an injustice has been done to not allow these guys to tell their story in a court.
Yeah.
That the second trial judge was that's not justice when you're like, I got to get a win.
Yeah,
your job is to make sure that justice is served and it's fair between the accused and the prosecutor.
It was
that's your job,
LA,
Judge.
Yeah.
But he didn't do that because he wanted to look good in Los Angeles, where you still look like garbage. Your town is garbage, and your justice system sucks. So give these guys a new trial or let them go, because either way, that was a disservice. They should have allowed them to put that. I'm not saying they didn't kill him. I'm not saying what they did was right, but the United States is supposed to be the most just country in the world. Is that justice? It's not.
Good point, Michael.
Hell yeah.
All right. Next week,
justice,
week, what we're watching.
Yeah, what are we watching?
We're going to watch This is the Zodiac Speaking. It's a brand new documentary on Netflix, short one, and it talks about the Zodiac Killer, and I watched it, and I feel like this is going to be a case closed on this one. I think they finally have figured out who this guy was, and it's a really good documentary.
Can't wait to watch it. You watch us do this live every Thursday at 9 a.m. or on YouTube or Facebook. I play it during that time during my show. Jay plays it during his show at 6 p.m. where you can always download it as a free podcast on our 104.7 The Cave app. I'm Mike the Intern. That's Jay Stevens reminding you.
We don't watch the
be a cool
Kardashians,
dude and
apparently.
Don't be a jerk off. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.
We both were